Hi, Natty.
Hey, Alice.
Maybe we should do a little intro.
Maybe.
So I'm Alyce Dylan, author, intuitive counselor, Reiki master, a surviving sixth sensed human. And this is Nkosinathi.
AKA Nachi, journeyman, and bicycle mechanic.
And we are all the sixth sensed. So what does that mean? Well, historically, humanity's worked all five senses except for the extraordinary individuals in society, either elders or herbalists or healers or the wise ones.
Okay.
Historically, in humanity, in every tribe, there have been those individuals who have moved beyond the five senses and operate off six senses. So in Africa, there are sangomas and nyangas and holy people. Across Europe, there were medicine women and men. There were elders. There were sacred ones. The Native Americans actually strived for six senses, and humanity has been moving in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
The awakening of the sixth sense, the awakening of the heightening of intuition, the exploration of psychic abilities. But in the last 200 years, this has spiked phenomenally. So where I came upon this was, I think I was in the second degree Reiki class, and someone or other handed me the book, The Indigo Child, where a bunch of researchers in the late 60s, early 70s had found out that every year more and more of the kids that they were researching, and this was happening in the US, were demonstrating sixth sense abilities. And they were very excited because they thought this was the coming of world peace.
Okay.
They thought this was a mark that humanity was evolving. And I certainly think it was. The book really annoyed me, to be honest, because it was written from the perspective of the researchers who were finding this out. But nowhere in the book or any commentary I've heard lately or since then really focused on, yes, but what was it like for those sixth sense children to be born into this world, which is...
Let's hear from the subjects, yeah.
You know, it's all very exciting that a bunch of sixth sense kids were being born. And we got this label, the indigo children. But what did that mean for them? What did it mean for the sixth sense kids who were able to perceive when their parents were lying, who were able to perceive that something's wrong with humanity, who were able to perceive a lot of things that the standard normal psychometrics didn't embrace? So really the sixth sensed are anyone who operates beyond the normal five senses. I've heard theories that there are up to 12 senses, which I'd love to explore that idea. But it's really anyone who works either with heightened intuition or...
Anyone that operates off of more than five senses. Doesn't matter what they are or how many they are.
As this phenomena has developed, we've also found a bunch of rabbit holes opening up. You know, every time I turn on my computer, I know I get these, or go into one of the social media platforms, I get these ads. Have you never broken a bone? Well, you would be one of us. And it's so annoying to me because, and that's talking about star seeds. What? What are star seeds now? Or we're inbred aliens, or, oh, goodness me, this gets crazy. So...
Don't get me started.
Yeah, so Natty and I really wanted to start this series of conversations, and we've used visuals that are fun because we're going to be discussing some fairly serious topics. Our previous work is podcasty because we're sixth sensed, and you know, guess what? We don't want our faces all over the place, which is a very sixth sense thing. And yet we wanted to reach out to people like us who are battling and provide them with some kind of sanity So let's have a look. Are you sixth sensed? Well, if you've always felt that you think too deeply and feel too much, hey, you're probably sixth sensed. If you have an internal dialogue, I know this is going to freak some of you out. Do you know that five sensed people, normals, do not have an internal dialogue?
Like their voice or other voices or other people's voices or just voices? Or have I just gone down a rabbit hole already?
No. It's basically that internal dialogues can be between yourself and yourself, or yourself and your fairies. And maybe we should explain terminology as we go along. I call the people in next world fairies because it's not as much of a loaded word as other people use.
Yeah.
The collective consciousness is far too expansive. People who have passed on, people who are no longer embodied.
The corporeal. What is the word? Let's just say in their bodies. And I'm just going to skip the thesaurus then. Right.
So they are non-corporeal.
That's the word. See?
So those who are on the other side, obviously there's a whole, you know what, that's going to be an episode, but there's a whole bunch of souls who are in the next world, which is within this world. There's no physical distance. And some of us can hear them, and some of us choose not to hear them. You don't have to. If you're a sixth sense person, you don't have to speak to.
You don't have to do anything that's going to freak you out.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Despite what other people may actually try and tell you. Like, oh, okay, you see them. Now we need to really develop this thing you may not actually be cool with.
Ultimately, you are in control of what you allow and what you don't. This is your experience. This is your human experience. You get to decide what you're comfy with and what you're not. If you tend to be the observer in the group, if you observe more than you... Well, Nathi's also said to me before that he would be an active participant. He's a very outgoing character. So he would actively participate, but a part of his consciousness was always also
observing from that point of an active participant.
Okay, well, I was more the watcher kind of person.
Yes.
If you're truly autistic, if you are an inspired artist in any field, then you're sixth sensed, because art is also a mechanism for channeling. So you can connect with your fairies and they can inspire you to create beautiful works. So if you do that, I mean, you're sixth sense and 6+ sense. There's also so many labels that we've been given over the years.
So you can get stuck in the labels and the terminologies and the...
So guys, we're being really broad here in the catchment area. Okay, we're saying if you are having a human experience that has moved beyond 5 senses, you're one of us. You're one of the sixth sense. We could call ourselves indigo children. Western medicine has decided to label us HSPs. Really. So they label us in order to medicate us, really. There is something in the world. Well, there is something out there that I'm not going down rabbit holes. We're doing an introduction.
I can hear the psychiatrist now.
And Nathi's not being serious, but seriously, a lot of us have been medicated out of our minds. A lot of us have been put away in institutions, which is very sad. Only 1 in 20 of us, according to the statistics, makes it to 25. So the sixth sense would, at this point, after the last 200 years, we would be the majority of mankind.
Yeah.
Look, this is my opinion. But based on this statistic, we lose a lot of ourselves. We lose a lot of our people to addiction, to illness, chronic illness, but we know a lot of that is about the chemicals.
Well, yeah, and this modern living, if you're a sensitive person and you live in an apartment block, that is torture. That is literally torture.
So, if you're still with us, you're still listening, then If you yearn for kindness, if kind moments, clips of kind moments or observing kind moments almost brings you to tears, if you yearn deep in your being for kindness, then you're definitely one of us. If the facades other people wear, if the masks other people wear are obvious to you and you see through them quite easily, you're definitely one of us. If you know truth when you encounter it, like you know this to be true, and you can't necessarily tell anyone why, but you just know this is true, then you're one of us.
I would often, much to my parents' horror, in a room full of people, the one person like you're like, ooh, that person looks a bit dodgy. I think we'll just kind of avoid them. Where's the child? Oh, he's actually now talking to this person that I thought was dodgy, and they're laughing and they're having fun. And it's like, because I would see something completely different because the facade says, go away, leave me alone. I was like, oh, actually, you've got a sense of humor.
Well, also, they could have been a Sixth Sense person because Sixth Sense people become very prickly. Sixth Sense people in society sometimes become porcupines in order to keep people away from them.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily want to be subjected to everybody's radiating anger or their guilt or their mistrust or whatever it is. We just want to and they self-isolate. If you as a child saw your parents for who they were really early on, then you're probably one of us. You know, in other words, if they fell off their pedestals sooner than your classmates' parents did, then you're probably one of us. If you are impaled by meanness and aggression, so if meanness and aggression really impale you, watching someone be mean to someone just, it hurts you, then, yeah, you're one of us. If you generally spend your life confused by the behavior of normals, like you look at how normals behave and what they do and what they do to each other, and you just like, what? What are they doing? Why are people like this? If you've spent your life in confusion, not knowing quite why people are the way they are, then you're one of us.
Yeah.
If truth is really important to you, and I don't mean the truth is itself. So truth by its own nature is its own self. And if the truth is really important to you, like finding out what's really going on here is really important to you. And if you feel awful, if it makes you feel really, if it hits you off your center to be dishonest, it makes you feel entirely alien, then you're definitely one of us. If you never laughed at mean comedy, or maybe you did, but you were just pretending, because watching someone humiliate themselves was just devastating to you, then you're one of us.
I've never been able to watch that stuff.
So truth, let's go back to truth for a moment. Truth has a frequency, and you can train yourself to know it. There's work that I did with my sensei at one stage, and truth is it's like a tuning fork. Truth has a resonance, and you can train yourself to hear that and recognize it.
It's not subjective at all. It tastes different. It feels different.
It's energizing and it's clarifying in the most literal sense. If music affects you, talking about frequencies, if music affects you deeply, music of any kind, but if it really affects your soul, if it touches you deeply, then you're likely one of us. If you understand that connection goes beyond technology, so if you understand that you can be talking to somebody on the other end of the world, even if you think that's what is connecting you is your computer, you know it's not. You're making that connection energetically. So a lot of Sixth Sense people have really been inundated with the growth of technology. Because when you're sitting in a chat room, whether you know it or not, it's like sitting in a room full of people energetically. So you are actually being bombarded with the energy of all these people. So if you have a different relationship with technology than the normals that you know, then you're definitely sixth sense. That's some of the things that you can use to know if you're sixth sensed. Here's what happens with a lot of sixth sense. A lot of sixth sense people become addicts. So we have a very high addiction rate amongst the sixth sense, and that's just coming from overwhelm. So this world is difficult enough to survive and move your way through as a five sense person with everything that's going on.
Yes.
The world's in a bit of turmoil, chaos, just in case you didn't notice.
It's fine. There's nothing strange going on here.
It's a little bit weird right now out there. And for five sense people, that would be bad enough. It's confusing. There's a lot of propaganda going on, a lot of people trying to convince everybody that things are one way or the other. For the sixth sense, it's even worse. So we tend to self-isolate. In our self-isolation, so keeping ourselves away. So a lot of us read a lot. We adopt some form of escapism. And that can be reading or getting really focused and really good at some hobby, whether that's sports or work. We can develop a real passion for a particular kind of work and become very good at it. A lot of very excellent people in the business space are sixth sense people.
Like natural salesmen.
Yeah. So we focus ourselves down. It gives us a point of focus if we find an occupation that we truly love. It allows us to narrow our focus down to a certain area. And that helps us to survive as sixth sense people, because now we're focused on a particular area and we can tune out everything that doesn't fall into that category. If people aren't fortunate enough to learn how to narrow their focus down to one thing, then going out into the world, especially those living in towns, sixth sense people living in the countryside, can often survive without having to find an addiction or some practice that helps them to remove their focus from what's going on around them. And let's be clear, a very good reference person. If you are subject to addiction, if addiction is a part of your life, if you know that you have what they call an addictive personality, please, please, please go and look up Matter. He has the best material on understanding addiction. He also understands that addiction is a survival tool. And certainly for the sixth sense, we use addiction to help us survive the noise of the world. So a lot of us, we lose to addiction. A lot of us, we lose to suicide just because it's too much to be able to know everything we know and have the normals around us tell us that we're loopy.
Something wrong with you.
So here's what we decided. We decided that we wanted to create a space to discuss the world and all the craziness. A space where only the sixth sense would truly understand what we mean when we discuss certain things in a certain way. We're also two sixth sense people who have made it to here. And so we have some tips and ideas on how you can make your life easier. What we truly need as a world, as a planet, is we need more sixth sense people to be whole and healed. As I say, I think, would have been the majority of the world by now, were it not for a couple of things. Outside interference, and there has been, we'll go through what there has been, but there's a force out there that really wants to prevent this growth of humankind into sixth senses. Why? Because sixth sense people can hear truth. And so if there's someone out there that's reliant on humanity buying into lies, they're going to be detrimented by the majority of humanity understanding truth.
You don't have to know the truth. I'm telling you how it's going to be. Trust me.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So there is a force out there, and we're not going to get into conspiracy theories and rabbit holes, but when we put them all together, it's difficult to deny that there's not something going on. Let's take one thing. One small thing which is becoming public knowledge now, that after World War II, now the Nazis were fascinated with the sixth sense. They were fascinated with abilities beyond the five senses. And they did a lot of testing on a lot of Romanies.
That's actually one of the weird things that are really kept out of the mainstream, is that the Nazis were really interested in the sixth sense. They were fascinated to death by the occult. And all of this esoteric knowledge that the world seems to, there's dirty hippies. The Nazis were just all over it. They scoured the world looking for stuff too.
So they did a lot of testing on the sixth sense. And one of the things they discovered was that this weird element of fluoride actually dulled the sixth sense. So, and the chemical action of fluoride is to calcify the pineal gland. And the pineal gland is the organ of the body with the highest frequency. And so therefore it makes sense that it's through your pineal gland that you receive high frequency information. And so immediately post World War II, suddenly the municipal waters of the world were all flooded with fluoride.
It's so much better for you, and it's good for your teeth.
There's absolutely no medical research now that substantiates that fluoride is in any way healthy. So it's just one example, but there are things that have gone on. But when you put them all together, kind of looks like there was an organization or a group of people, many groups of people, who didn't agree that mankind would be served better with a sixth sense. Okay, now we fast forward to the last couple of years, and in the last couple of years there's been a global event. Everyone will know about it unless they're living under a rock. And all of the information we have on the sixth sense ends there. So sitting here, I can't tell you. Before that, medical science, in inverted commas,
Science,
was estimating that the sixth sense, were 25% of the population. And I think that's really conservative. I think that anyone who went to a psychologist and got diagnosed as HSP or whatnot, they comprise the 25%. I think the true number is higher than 40 to between 40 and 60. And that ties in with some other figures we'll go into. But there were a lot of us. And I think that there being a lot of us maybe was partly might have inspired the drastic steps gone to. But I don't know how many of us were affected by the global event. I don't know how many of us survived that event.
well, it was really designed to catch a lot of things. And one of them was the sixth sense people. Certainly.
So there we go. Those are the sixth sensed. We detoured a little bit there, but what I did want to say about addiction was that Professor Alexander in the 70s looked at the study that they did with rats, when you put a rat in a cage and the rat had a choice of water that was laced with cocaine or something else, and they had a choice of that or the normal water. And when they were alone in this cage, they were all by themselves, they tended to get addicted to the water. But this Professor Alexander, he revisited that experiment and created Rat Park and put a bunch of rats in there with a lot of entertainment and a lot of friends and a lot of happy, useful things. And in that scenario, the rats would leave the addictive water alone. So here's the conundrum. So many sixth sensed out there self-isolate because the world feels harmful. They self-isolate, and in this isolation, they turn to addiction. So what we really need to heal this whole section of humanity is spaces and communication forums and points of reaching out where the sixth sense can start to build community. Even if just online for now, for all those self-isolationists. You know, you don't have to leave your house. We're just throwing our arms out around you all and we're saying, hi, welcome to this space. We hope you'll feel heard here. We'll hope you'll know through our voices that you're not alone. And that there are people like you out there, and it's possible to survive, hope, and heal. And it's possible to really be a force in the world.
Because the thing is, when you've survived a certain amount of time as a sensitive person, and you run into different other things that allow you to clean up some of that trauma, your sixth senses have this thing is they open up in completely unexpected ways. But because you've dealt with your trauma or are dealing with it, it's so much more acceptable.
If the sixth sense self-isolate in order to survive, they then become perfect candidates for addiction.
Yeah.
And in our real lives, we've tried a number of times to create togetherness circles, meeting gatherings for sixth senses to get together and know each other. And we know them personally and we invite them, they come and it's fine. But to get a self-isolating sixth sense person to join a community is like pulling teeth.
I can remember when I was self-isolating, at times there's nothing you could get me to do. To stand with a bunch of people, whether I knew them or not. It's like, you must be out of your mind. That's not going to happen.
So here we are, creating a space where people can make a connection, even if just through the sound of our voices. But I know energetically, we're reaching out. We're offering hugs. And there will be a couple of platforms that we will link to this. We'll put the descriptions below. One is on Fourth Wall. We have a Facebook group too. And there will be other groupings that we evolve in the coming days. And what's the difference with this one? Well, we're not into talking to aliens or believing that we are from another planet.
We're not?
Hey, you know, we're starting from the present moment. We're working ground up and we're saying, look, if you're a sixth sense person and you've developed strategies how to survive, hey, maybe you're not ready to join a drumming circle or a ganja group or a star seed something or other. Maybe you just want to hang out with people who are like you, but are also practical and perhaps living their lives well. And so we're going to try. We're going to try and do that and see if it works. But we do hope to save some more of us because the world needs us. The world needs us whole and healed. And please, if you'd like to know more immediately and you can't wait for the next episodes to come, please do go and look up the book, Alone in a Sea of Normal, by me, Alyce Dylan. And I lay out a lot of things, give a lot of tips and tricks and survival tools. So here we are. You found your peeps. Now let's try and make us all stronger together.
Yeah.